Hello, everybody. This is Nanette Kennedy with Humanities Team and Evolution Revolution, and we are reading Neale Donald Walsch's book, Communion with God, and it's a Conversations with God. Actually, it says that on the spine of my book, but that is not what it says. It doesn't seem like it's a conversation. It seems like it's, what did you call it, Linda? A download or something?
Yeah. It's just mostly God talking. Neil's not talking.
Yep.
The top of my book in Kindle says the Conversations with God series. So Communion with God is one of the books in the series.
Right. Okay. Well, if we're not speaking, we'll put ourselves on mute, and Linda, you can begin when you're ready.
Okay. So this is chapter 5. I think you'll find it on page 54. And again, as we just mentioned, this is God speaking. The illusion of requirement. This is the fifth illusion. Requirement exists. The existence of insufficiency led rapidly and inevitably to the idea of the next illusion. If there were enough stuff, there would be nothing you would have to do to get whatever it was you wanted or needed. You would just reach out and it would be there. But that is not how humans decided that it is. They said there is not enough. So now they face the question, how does one get enough? How does one qualify? You imagined that there must be something that you had to do in order to get the stuff of which there was not enough, something that would allow you to lay claim to it without argument. This is the only way you could figure out how to get everything, including God, divided in your favor without killing and squabbling. You imagined this to be the requirement. You told yourself that fulfilling it, whatever it was, is what it takes. That idea has held firm to this very day. If anything, it's grown stronger. You believe that when you do the things you need to do, you can be the things you want to be. If you want to be happy, if you want to be secure, if you want to be loved, then there are things you are going to have to do. You cannot be these things unless you have enough. And you cannot have enough unless you do what it takes to get enough, to qualify for enough. This is what you believe. And because you believe it, you have elevated doing to the highest place in your cosmology. Even God says there is something that you have to do in order to get to heaven. This is how you have put it together. This is the requirement. Mind you now, all of this is based on the third illusion, that you are separate. When there was only one of you, there was always enough. And so there was nothing you had to do in order to be anything. And that idea of separation was based on the second illusion, that failure exists. Because God failed to get what he wanted, he separated all humans from him. And failure was based on the first illusion, that need exists. God could not fail to get what God wanted if God wanted nothing, and God would want nothing if God needed nothing. In truth, there is only one illusion, and all the others are permutations of that. Everything else is an expansion of the only illusion with a different nuance. Thus, the illusion of requirement is nothing more than a different take on the illusion of need. Similarly, the illusion of insufficiency is a different take on the illusion of need, as is the illusion of failure, and so on, through all the illusions of humans. You will see very clearly as you explore each illusion that each is an outgrowth of the illusions that have gone before. It is like watching a balloon being blown up. The announcement of your species that there is a requirement that must be met in order to acquire anything of which there is not enough, including God's love, has proven to be one of the most significant decisions the human race has ever made. It has resulted in entire lists and sets of rules and regulations, guidelines and procedures, laws of God and laws of men, by which you imagine you must live your life. Here are a few of the things you have decided that you must do in order to have a good life on earth. Be a good boy or girl. Don't talk back. Get good grades and go on to college. Graduate with a degree and find a good job. Marry and have children. Be good parents and give your parents more than you were given. Be cool. Do as you're told. Don't do bad things, or at least don't get caught. Follow the leader. Don't ask too many questions, and don't ask any of the wrong ones. Keep everybody happy. Do not include yourself in the group of people you are trying to keep happy if it may mean excluding someone else in the group. Don't impose on anybody, especially when you get old. And here are a few of the things you have decided that you must do in order to please God and get into heaven. Don't do anything bad, and forget about not getting caught, because you will. If you do something bad, for God's sake, beg forgiveness and promise never to do it again. Be a good boy or girl. Do not play with yourself. Do not play with anyone else either, not that way. In fact, do not play much at all. Try to understand that all pleasures of the body are at best distractions from what you really came to earth to do, and at worst, absolute sins against God. If you must have pleasures, do not enjoy them. Do not enjoy money. Do not enjoy attention. Do not enjoy sex. Above all, do not enjoy sex. Never, ever have a sexual relationship outside of marriage, and never, ever love more than one person in that way. If you must have sex for any reason other than procreation, be embarrassed. Do not freely or uninhibitedly enjoy it. Do not take money for something truly enjoyable. And if you make a great deal of money, be sure you give most of it away. Believe in the right God. For heaven's sakes, believe in the right God. Beg forgiveness and mercy from God for having been born imperfect, and ask Him for help in meeting the conditions for you to be loved again. Humans have many other beliefs. These are listed here to give you a few examples. This is what you have to do. This is the requirement, and you would do well to understand it. Who set this requirement? Who put it into place? You say that I did. You claim that the author was God. And since there is not enough God to go around, you have to lay claim to me in order to justify setting yourself up as the winners in your competitions. You claim then that yours is the one nation under God, or that you are the chosen people, or that yours is the one true faith. You lay claim to me, and you do so viciously, ferociously, for you feel that if you can lay claim to me, you can lay claim to anything else you desire in my name. This you have done for centuries, waving high your holy books, your crosses, and your flags to justify taking what there is not enough of by whatever means is necessary, including killing. You have even gone so far as to call such an event a holy war. seeking to close wounds in your soul while you open wounds in the bodies of others. You have performed these most ungodly acts in the name of God, and because you think that I have a requirement that you must fulfill in order to receive me, my love, and all the stuff of life. As long as you believe that there is something that you have to do, you will struggle to find out what it is, and then struggle further to achieve it. Achievement will become your God. Indeed, it already has. Yet if doing the right things brings you happiness and allows you to go home to God, why has all the striving to do those things felt so unhappy and seemed so surely to be leading you away from God? And perhaps more important, how will it be determined whether or not all of this was worth it? By what measure, by what system will it be decided if the requirement has been met? This is something you did not know. This was the question that humans began to ask. Clearly, there was a flaw in the fifth illusion. This should have revealed the idea of requirement as false. But humans knew at some very deep level that they could not give up the illusion, or something very vital would come to an end. And again, they were right, but again, they made a mistake. Instead of seeing the illusion as an illusion and using it for the purpose for which it was intended, they thought they had to fix the flaw. It was to fix the flaw in the fifth illusion that the sixth illusion was created. End of chapter.
Thank you, Linda. Anybody want to make some comments? Well, I've got a few.
Yeah, I have something to say.
Go for it.
I hate this book. Really, I mean, it's ruining everything that I really want to believe in. It's not fun at all to give up my addictions to the illusions.
I understand that, Siobhan.
Right, it's like being an addict.
Sorry, what?
It's not unlike being an addict. We are addicted to the illusion. And
No, it is being an addict. You're right.
yeah, we're addicted to the illusion, and it's the same kind of process to go through this mental change that it is for an addict with a physical addiction, I believe.
Oh, absolutely. See, I'll tell you what's annoying me even more is that before the book club, I was meditating on stuff that I've done all my life. And I just started to cry because I realized how ignorant they were. And right after I do that, the only image that I'm getting, I mean, you know, that was an addiction to the idols that my ancestors had worshipped, you know, like that kind of behavior which I inherited. I was just doing what my family always did.
Of course.
And now I'm reading this and I'm just thinking, I feel like, you know, like like when you're hanging, someone's just kicked the stool out from under you. So there go the addictions. You know, I'll have to replace them with something good, but right now I'm mourning them.
I think that's healthy, Shivana.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm just adding to what you were saying. I don't think most of us in one lifetime will be able to kick all these quote unquote addictions. I think I think most of us are close to the same age here. And we've been having these things sold to us so many times. And, um, I used to get up in the morning when I was really small and say, Mom, it's going to be an A-OK day. And she'd say, well, of course it is. And I said, I'm not going to talk back. I'm not going to blah, blah, blah. I'm not, and my mom wasn't asking for me to be perfect. I kind of put that on myself. It's like, I did that. But I don't know what page it is in the book because I've got a Kindle. But one of them says, don't ask too many questions and don't ask any of the wrong ones. And I was about 12. My mother was a moderate conservative, and she was having a board meeting for some election she was helping run or campaign. And I walked in the door and the dining room was right there on the left once you walked in the front door. And there was like 12 people there. And my mom said, everybody, this is my daughter, Nanette. And then my mom named everybody around the table. And she goes, did you have a good night with Aunt Joan and her cousin Kathy? I said, yes, we had the most amazing conversation about intercourse. And all these people, were like dumbfounded and didn't know what to say. And my mom said, can I talk to you in the kitchen real quick? And, I said, well, sure, it was nice to meet everybody. And I bounced out of the room and got in the kitchen. And I wasn't in trouble, but my mom said, we just don't talk about things like that in mixed company. I was like, oh, all right. Won't happen again. Heard. But we've all done things like that. And I don't think it's something you can snap your fingers and have it be done overnight. I think we can just become more aware of it. But that's my thought. Oh.
Well, you've cheered me right up, Nanette. I was getting sad, but that's the most hilarious story.
Yeah, I was like, did I say something wrong?
You know what? They probably all wished they'd said it.
You know what? I know all of them wanted to laugh. That much I could tell. They did not, but I'm glad I could cheer you up anyway. Anybody else?
Yeah, I think change is so difficult, and I think I'm coming to a greater understanding about, instead of being so feeling is so urgent to change, instead of that, to shift my attention to add something, instead of trying to get rid of addictive thinking and negative emotions and so on. Instead of trying to get rid of it, to acknowledge it and to add my observation or my witnessing. So I think, to me at least, it's a challenge to like being identified with thinking and emotion and all those the addictive things, and when I succeed in adding the witnessing thing, then I can kind of separate from the addiction. Not that it goes away, but it lessens somehow. And I have added what can make it possible to subside at least.
I think that's a really good point, where you're replacing a behavior with a different behavior instead of, because as human beings, as soon as somebody says don't do something, that's kind of a like, oh God, I'm not supposed to do that. But if you replace it with a different thought, maybe, a blessing, or not, being grateful and for what we do have in our lives, and maybe that will help. And I know because one of my kids had not a ferocious drug problem, but she had a drug problem. And when she was in this group counseling thing, and a doctor spoke up every week that we were going there. And he said, if you picture the brain like virgin territory, except for where you use the same pathway over and again, you can change the pathway, so that you don't go through this thing where I have to have the drug because I've done the drug, and now, that path is burned into the ground. So, but he said all of us can create new pathways. And he's talking about the brain. So I don't know if that helps either. Over.
Yeah, and when that new pathway is getting broader, and you don't use the old pathway that much anymore, that one will be more thin, and the new pathway will be a railroad.
Mm-hmm.
When you have taken that pathway 1,000 times, perhaps, right? Yeah.
Yes. And if you quit using the old pathway, it'll grow grass or whatever, so that there's a different pathway. I mean, the old pathway is not there anymore.
I think both of you are just dancing around the fact that it just heals, like the fissure, the hole, the whatever, it just heals. But I have a confession to make. I think one thing that I've been addicted to is negativity. Before I went into meditation, all I could see here in Alberta, we've got wild hare, not hare, but HARE, the rabbits, and all they do is hop up and down everyone's lawns. Have you got them too, Nanette? Okay, all right, they probably come from here. So, so all I saw was myself jumping like a wild hare across the old pathways, the ones that Lena just mentioned had been burned, or Nanette, you started with saying that they've been burned into the soil, So I did see that. And then I started to get negative about giving up the addiction, but I can actually be a hare, like the ones I see. And I'm just grateful for this book club, because I can declare this and know that one person who consciously heals and accepts becoming a hare is affecting all of humanity. So I'm actually excited, but I hid it in my, in the negative expression. But if we've got one person being a hare who's going to do the meditation for the 10 of us, it's a start or a continuation.
That's a good point. And if you stick with your metaphor of the hair, we know that they multiply a lot. So,
well, we've got our ambassador in Alaska, so I guess Linda doesn't need any. Do you want some, Linda?
What?
Rabbits, hares.
Oh, we have our own.
You've got them hopping around the lawns?
Uh-huh.
Oh, I thought we were special.
They are special.
So this chapter makes me think about the room of requirement in Harry Potter. I don't know if you all are familiar with that or not, but in Harry Potter, there's this room where if you go there, whatever you need will come to you. And also another feature of this room, and when we first meet it, this is actually the way we meet it, is Harry Potter has something he needs to get rid of, hide. And so he goes in this room and it's just full of like all manner of junk and stuff that people have shoved in there at various times, some of which becomes very important later in the story. So I'm sort of thinking about that in relation to what we've been talking about in terms of the addictions and the things that we want to replace them with. And I'm finding it sort of cool to think that there could be this room that I could go to where I could kind of trade out, you know, the thing that's not serving my purpose so well for the thing that I would like to have instead. That's what I thought about with this chapter.
That's a great analogy. And again, most of us was about the same age in this group. And I don't remember the date because I didn't write it down, but I do remember a point in time where I was like, I had so many knickknacks around my house that I started shoving them in closets. And if I were at a store or a garage sale or whatever, and I was tempted to get it, and I thought, is that going to end up in a closet? Do I really need this? And it doesn't mean I can't want something and get it, but I tell my kids, please don't buy me any more knick-knacky things, you know, because it's over the top. But it took me to be a certain age in my life for me to open my eyes and go, do you really need that? Or do you have a special place for it, or whatever it is? And I'm not trying to make anybody feel guilty if they're still buying knickknacks. But I just know for me, it was a wake-up call. It's like, I don't need to keep buying things that I don't necessarily need. When really, do I want them? Over.
Hi, how's everybody today? This is Ann.
Hi, Ann.
Well, I just got on the call, so I missed the reading, but I figure that what's going on in my life somehow applies to whatever has been said. So I just wanted to say hello. And what I see about things having ADHD and being bipolar is things have energy. And like I have so many things around my house, and what I see is what's better is when things are orderly. So as you become more spiritual and you become more sensitive to energy, you need less things occupying the space because you need the space, if that makes any sense. That's my experience. Today what's been going on is Albert Einstein's quote, "No problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it." Basically, one of the reasons I called in late was because on the ground, because of the saga, taking care of my mother, and whatever I do, it's not enough, and that kind of thing of not supposed to be taken care of for the night and being needed, and damned if I do, damned if I don't. It always seems to come out that I'm just not doing enough, and so what is this level of consciousness that's operating? Caught there, I kind of get stuck in the drama and all that stuff, and so I have to step out of it to a higher level of consciousness, which is what I think these calls are about, is because we take ourselves out of looking at things like on the third dimension, how dense, for me, how dense the third dimension seems to be. And when we step up to what they like the fifth dimension, there's a whole different perspective of how things look. And I was thinking today, this is the last piece of it, what if my life, your life, each life was exactly the way we wanted it to be or needed it to be, or everything was divinely exactly the way it needed to be, which is exactly the way it is. What I see is that I'm in constant growth. If I'm not resisting, which is what I see is that I resist that lower level, I start to battle with it instead of just step higher and say, okay, what's this about for me? And anyway, so it's a major growth, taking care of your mother and experiencing being back what it was like when you were a child, and knowing where I'm taking care of myself and where I'm not. I don't know, I'm starting to babble, but it's just really hard because I love her and I want to be there for her, but I don't know what says that I don't have a right to have my own life just because she's old and everybody expects it to be my job, and then I feel bad about thinking at that level of consciousness, and don't know how that fits into addiction, but I'm sure it does. I'm over. Thank you.
And I was just going to add to what you say, or what you were saying. And believe me, I'm not walking on water, so I don't have this all figured out. And this is advice to myself as well, is when you hear that voice that says, I'm not doing enough, I would work on hearing God's voice and saying, speak to me. And I think you're going to hear God say, you are doing enough. And don't be so hard on yourself. But I could be wrong because, like I said, I'm not walking on water myself. Over.
And that was a lovely babble, because whatever you're doing to all of us, to yourself and to all of us. And putting your mother first is hard. But each one of us has been put first when we were babies. And I just think that the compassion and tenderheartedness and willing to put someone else ahead of you and be here regardless. I mean, for you to be here now in this group means that even though Nanette says you're being hard on yourself, I think you are loving yourself as well, because how could you love your mother and not love yourself? So probably you are looking after yourself because your presence here now is valued by every one of us.
I feel that I should say something, and I don't quite know what to say, to be honest. But I'm in the exact same position, caring for my mother, and what I sort of say to myself is, it's not what you're doing, it's what you're being. It's a thought that sort of comes to my mind. A lot of things have sort of run through my mind with following your comments, Anne, and I think I'll just leave it at that for now. It's what you're being that's important, not what you're doing.
Can you clarify that, Angela, a little bit? My understanding of what you've just said is that you are being gentle and caring and kind to your mother, and she can pick up that vibration. If you can just clarify it, that's what I've understood.
It's just the be do have. The doing comes from the being, you see. It's not what you do. You think, oh, I need to do this to be happy, or I need to do this for whatever, but you be something. Again, if we've got it the wrong way around, when you be what it is you want, you need, or you want, you feel you need, then the doing comes from that. So, I mean, I'm caring for my mother. All the sorts of thoughts go through your head. I mean, do I have a life? Because I've given up my life for my mother, but missed what I was going to say now. It's completely gone from my mind. My head goes a bit mush because I'm going through this myself, and I'm mindful of, and I very much agree with when Neil says, or God says, talk the truth to everyone. You know, tell the truth about yourself to yourself, tell the truth about yourself to another, and it goes on, and eventually tell the truth about everything to everyone. But I don't think that necessarily means telling everyone your business, if you see what I mean. And there's so much I could say here and now, but I'm just very mindful that where this is going, this recording, and I don't particularly want everyone to know my business, so that's why I'm a bit hesitant what to say.
What I'd like to add is the issue for me is elements of me affect me, and it's like what you think of me is none of my business. If I have to learn, to me, I give her Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, and then I took legal guardianship for my friend that has Parkinson's and dementia, and it's like there's only so much of me, and she's really doing well, and I really do love her. And being in the moment when you have the moments is just a matter of being present with the experience, and all this other stuff is just the story around it, getting to those moments, which aren't as important as just having the moments, if that makes any sense. So.
Yes, yes, it does make sense. Thank you.
You're muted, Nanette. I see your lips moving.
You can see my lips, but you can't hear my mouth. Okay. I was going to say, does anybody else want to add anything before we have Shabana do a brief meditation?
I have something I'd like to share. It doesn't have anything to do with the book group, but I'll do it at the end if we don't have a hard stop.
Yep, that's fine. I'm sure we'll have some time.
Okay.
A couple minutes anyway. All right, Shabana, take it away.
Lord God, we are here now reading this book about the 10 illusions. And when I heard the end of the chapter, I was eager to share the anger at having to give up my illusions. But the fact is, my cowardice prevented me from mentioning the huge leaps that the hare were making. And I am that hare, and everyone in this group is making giant leaps because there is no such thing as a coincidence. We're here now, all 10 of us, and our hearts and hearts, minds, intentions, souls, everything are united in viewing our living planet as worthy of our love and attention. Anne and Angela have spoken about the love and care they are extending to their mothers. The earth is our mother. We love her, and the highly evolved beings who are watching us need to be invited to help because they're eager to share their expertise and technologies to heal our mother and to heal our hearts. The need of our planet and this time, which is essentially the 11th hour, is critical, but this present moment now is perfect. And we are here now in gratitude and peace and joy that this is our opportunity to be the change we want to see in the world. So we are holding hands in every possible way as we work with one heart to be love, to be light, to be peace, and to open new adventures of joy in faith. Amen.
Thank you, Shabana. That was very beautiful.
I'm excited.
Good. Because now you're not going to be angry.
I'm piggybacking on those hairs.
Pretty soon, Shabana, you're going to be able to put a book together of meditations. Just have to write them down when you hear the recording.
Well, it's really exciting, Nanette, that Angela and Mary and Anne have had such value. And of course, Angela means every one of the members. And of course, Lena, like the participation is huge. I feel grateful that you run this thing, Nanette, because, and Linda's reading. I mean, this is exciting and positive. I mean, I really love the change that's coming because of what Neil wrote up all those years ago. I mean, it's becoming clear to someone like me now because we read this together and discuss it.
I agree. And like I've said before, for me, this is my church. And I think we all learn and understand things about each other that when we share, it just makes this group that much tighter of a group. And I thank everybody for their participation. And Angela Duck, did you want to add something?
I was just going to tell y'all about what happened with my friend. Some of y'all might know I had my best friend was very ill. We found out on the 30th of September that she had cancer. And she passed away yesterday. I mean, it was just that fast. So her daughter texted me right after she passed away. She told me she had just left. So I kind of just quieted myself down a little bit and started meditating. I was able to, I don't know if any of y'all have ever done it. I hope that you have, but when you meditate, you see that little blue light that Neil talks about in your soul. I see that from time to time. I saw it yesterday, and I was just sitting there looking at it when all of a sudden, out from the side, came another one. I had been calling for Susie. I knew that if she had just gone, she wasn't gone far, so I was calling her, and she came. That's who it was. That's what that other blue light was. So I saw my friend's soul, and I could feel her beside me, and it felt like somebody was laying their head on my shoulder, and their head was touching my cheek right here. And we stayed like that for a few minutes, and I got the most incredible sense of peace and joy. She was not just happy, she was ecstatic. And she was comfortable, and everything was all right. And before that, when I was going through all this with her, I was just a weeping mess. I was crying, and every time I'd think about her, I'd just break out crying. But since then, it's been just completely different for me also, because I know that she's all right. And, you know, when we do pass, we're just going to be little blue flames and we're going to be happy and, you know, everything's going to be good. And I don't know, I just wanted to share that with y'all in case anyone has any doubt. I experienced the truth yesterday.
That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank
That is beautiful.
Thanks, Angela.
And I love it when people share those kinds of stories, because while it's given you hope, it's given the rest of us hope. And again, I keep referring to our ages, but it's hard to lose somebody.
Yeah.
But when you feel like you're connecting with them, it takes away some of that edge.
And because we are in that age range, you know, I figured we could all use a little reinforcement that what we've studied in Neil's books is actually true. I mean, it really is. We have nothing to worry about.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
What Neil writes about is actually true.
Yeah, and we have nothing to fear.
And we have nothing to fear. It's absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
I am very touched by what you've said, Angela. It's powerful.
Yeah, it's powerful for me too.
Yeah, and I'm excited now, after hearing this, about the future, because Nanette keeps saying we're about the same age, and I'm thinking we sure are. We're eternal.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, I was telling Nanette about me piggybacking on the hairs, but I'd like to see all of us rolled into one cowboy representing humanity, and all those hairs merged into one big stallion, and we're just riding to victory.
Yep, that's right. Because that's the way it's going to be.
Yeah, because this planet needs us and our meditation. I'm not writing any book. I'm just looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow. I mean, next week. You know, let's keep at this, because we've got our roadmap, which is Neil's 10 illusions.
Yep. And
Good deal.
Appreciate everybody, and I'm thrilled that we've found each other. And I know not everybody can be here every time, but I just love this group. I love the energy, and I love the fact that we're sharing, even with your story about your friend Susie and people's moms and that whatnot, and my mom calling me into the kitchen. But it's nice to have a place where we all know each other, and we can laugh, we can cry, we can do whatever. I mean, it's a safe place is what I'm saying. So
that was the best story ever, Nanette.
Well, just laugh every time you feel like being a little bit down or something. Think of me going into that meeting and announcing the great conversation on intercourse. Anyway, I love you all, and we will see each other. You know what? Actually, Linda, I'm going to have to get in touch with you because I won't be here next weekend. I'm going to be at the Sunrise Ranch thing with Barbara Marks Hubbard.
Cool.
So
Okay.
I will be in touch with you to give you co-host whatever it is I need to give you.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Love you guys.
How
Love
you
you
suffer
all.
for all of us, Nanette.
It's not suffering, trust me. I can mention
That's
some
a
suffering.
joke, Nanette. That's a joke, darling.
All right. Love you.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Well,
Bye.
bye.
Bye.